When Emma Carter turned 60, she never imagined that her life would feel so alive. She lived in a quiet neighborhood in Portland, Oregon, where the streets were lined with maple trees that turned brilliant shades of orange in the fall. Her children, Sarah and Michael, were both grown, married, and raising families of their own. Emma had spent most of her life working as a teacher, and after retiring, she thought her days would be spent quietly, gardening, reading books, and maybe traveling a little. But something unexpected happened in those years after retirement. She began to discover things about herself, her strength, and even about the way others saw her that surprised her deeply. It all started one summer when her granddaughter Lily asked her to come along to the community center for a storytelling night. "Grandma," Lily had said, tugging on Emma's hand, "they want people to share real stories about their lives. You always tell me such interesting things about when you were young. You should come." At first, Emma hesitated. She wasn't sure she wanted to stand in front of strangers and talk. But Lily's insistence won her over, and that evening Emma found herself sitting in a crowded room filled with people of all ages. One by one, individuals got up to share their experiences, some funny, some sad, and some that made the audience gasp in awe. When it was Emma's turn, she walked slowly to the front, her heart thumping, and began to speak about the time when she was a young teacher in her 20s, trying to balance her dreams with her responsibilities. The audience laughed at her anecdotes, nodded at her wisdom, and even clapped when she finished. She returned to her seat with her cheeks glowing. That night, she realized something profound. Older women often carry stories, lessons, and truths that people don't expect, and when they share them, they light up the room in ways no one anticipates. Over the months that followed, Emma noticed more and more how people reacted to her, not just because of what she said, but because of who she was becoming in this stage of her life. Her neighbor, Richard, once told her, "Emma, you have this calm energy about you. It makes everyone feel safe." Her daughter Sarah often called for advice, saying, "Mom, it's like you just know things before I even tell you." And even the teenagers at the community center seemed drawn to her, asking questions about life and love that they wouldn't dare ask their parents. Emma began to see patterns almost like hidden truths that reflected what it meant to be an older woman. These truths weren't just about aging, they were about psychology, resilience, and the way time shapes people's minds and hearts. She kept discovering them, one by one, through her daily life, her friendships, and her encounters with strangers. One crisp autumn morning, Emma invited her lifelong friend Margaret over for tea. Margaret had just turned 62 and was going through a difficult divorce. The two women sat on Emma's porch, watching leaves fall from the trees as they sipped from steaming mugs. Margaret sighed and said, "I feel invisible sometimes, Emma. Like the world doesn't see me anymore." Emma leaned closer and replied, "That's what they think. But the truth is, the older we get, the more powerful we become in ways they don't understand. It's like we carry secrets younger people haven't lived long enough to discover yet." That conversation made Emma reflect deeply. She thought about the times when she herself had felt overlooked, but then realized how much stronger, wiser, and more self-assured she had become. People might assume older women fade into the background, but in reality, their influence often grows quieter, deeper, and more profound. And so, Emma began writing down these reflections in a journal. Each page told a story, a moment in her life, or in the lives of women she knew, that revealed a psychological truth about older women that most people didn't realize. Her journal became a treasure chest of insight, blending real experiences with the lessons they carried. The more Emma wrote, the more she recognized that these truths weren't just hers. They belonged to her mother, who raised 5 children during hard times, to her grandmother, who had lived through the Great Depression and still managed to smile, and to her friends, each of whom carried a story that revealed strength in unexpected ways. One evening, while reading through her journal, Emma laughed softly to herself and whispered, "If people only knew, they wouldn't believe half of it." When Emma Carter turned 60, she never imagined that her life would feel so alive. She lived in a quiet neighborhood in Portland, Oregon, where the streets were lined with maple trees that turned brilliant shades of orange in the fall. Her children, Sarah and Michael were both grown, married, and raising families of their own. Emma had spent most of her life working as a teacher, and after retiring, she thought her days would be spent quietly, gardening, reading books, and maybe